The clinking of silverware and soft laughter filled the house like warm fog, drifting through rooms carefully cleaned and decorated for a night that was meant to celebrate resilience. Under the gentle glow of patio lights, a banner fluttered in the wind. Get well soon, Olga. No one questioned the irony, yet Maxim stood by the grill, tongs in hand, flipping marinated lamb chops with the kind of focus reserved for surgeons. The aroma of sizzling meat mixed with the late spring air, intoxicating and grounding. His shirt sleeves were rolled just below the elbow, forearms tanned and solid. He looked the part, dependable, devoted, calm. He had no reason to feel otherwise, not tonight, not yet. 3 months earlier, Olga stood in this very backyard, trembling, her hair gone, her eyes soaked, her voice broke. I have cancer, she whispered. The room shattered. Maxim had canceled their long-awaited trip to Greece that night, took on a second job consulting, canceled tennis, canceled everything, because when the love of your life is dying, nothing else matters. The children had drawn pastel cards with shaky letters, "Be strong, Mommy." His mother brought soup every other day. Her sister cried on speakerphone, then again in person. The family had folded itself around her like a shawl. But 2 weeks ago, Maxim saw something, a notification on her phone. He'd asked him to order her a taxi to the clinic. She was in the shower, so he opened the app. At first, it looked normal. Then he saw the scheduled destination, Hotel Vesta, 1930, appointment with... He blinked. Arthur. He didn't know an Arthur, and certainly not one who practiced medicine out of a hotel. He didn't say a word, just nodded when she came down in her beige scarf and large sunglasses, the way women trying not to be seen dress themselves when it's too late to hide. Maxim kissed her cheek. She smiled and left. That night, he opened a folder on his desktop labeled insurance. He deleted its contents, renamed it Truth. Every morning after, he was the same loving husband. Every evening, he was a quiet storm gathering. He followed her. Once, twice, 7 times. She always went to the same place. Always to Arthur, a man with a gym bag and a confident walk, a man who wore scrubs and Instagram photos but never stepped foot in a clinic, a man with the kind of smile that only lies know how to wear. Arthur wasn't her doctor. He was her lover. And Maxim was done waiting for permission to feel betrayed. Tonight he grilled. I don't like he smiled. Tonight everyone was here. Her parents, his colleagues, their kids, childhood friends. And tonight the guest of honor, Arthur, would arrive. Right on time. Maxim turned the meat. The bread on the side of the grill began to burn. He let it. Some things are better overcooked. The hardest part wasn't the lies. It was how easily they fit into the day-to-day. Olga was flawless in her performance. The sighs after a tough appointment, the trembling hands when opening lab results that no one else ever saw, the quick glances to the bathroom after dinner as if throwing up quietly proved anything. Maxim watched it all. He said nothing. She would never suspect silence. Silence had always been his kindness. But now silence had a new purpose. He began to document everything. A receipt from a coffee shop 2 blocks from Hotel Vesta, a video of her entering room 412 at 7:48 p.m. and leaving with smeared lipstick and undone laces at 9:26. She always wore white when she went to him. Maybe it made her feel pure again. He hired no detective, didn't need one. His patience was sharper than any lens. One evening, he followed Arthur to the gym. It was a trendy spot near the center, the kind where water bottles cost more than full dinners and personal training came with ego boosts and flattering glances. Arthur was in the corner showing an older woman how to stretch. He wore Navy Mule scrubs, not gym wear. Scrubs. Always the doctor. Even here, Maxim booked a session the next morning under a fake name. Cash up front. No ID required. "Hey, I'm Arthur," the man said, extending a hand. His teeth gleamed like a game show host. "Looking to cut fat or build muscle?" "Both," Maxim replied flatly. Their session was ordinary. Squats, planks, protein talk. Arthur talked a lot about supplements, about his Instagram page, about a woman he was seeing. Bit intense, but into me, he grinned. he, he didn't say her name. He didn't need to. Maxim smiled once, just once. At home, he updated the folder, added gym photos, chat transcripts from a dummy account where Arthur bragged to a fellow trainer about dating a married woman going through some shit. Maxim wrote no notes, just labeled each subfolder with quiet efficiency. Day 1, hotel. Day 4, calendar glitch. Day 9, lies at lunch. Day 11, stretch session. 12 days in, he made the decision, a barbecue. The anniversary of her diagnosis was approaching. 3 months To the day, he framed it as a celebration of strength, of family unity. People loved that stuff. Let's have everyone over, he told Olga. You fought so hard, you deserve joy. She smiled, wiped a fake tear. Maxim felt nothing. He went all out. Lights strung through the backyard trees, a full table set. He even printed a banner in soft pastels that read, "To Hope, Health, and Heroes." The heroes part, he admitted, was a touch too much. But it would sting later. Perfectly. 3 days before the barbecue, he sent Arthur a message. Hey, I got a big family BBQ this Saturday. You game? Could use an extra hand at the grill. Told my wife I'd find someone fun, drinks, good food, and tips for my form. Ha! Arthur answered in minutes. Sounds awesome. Love that vibe. Where at? Maxim gave him the address. No questions asked. Of course he'd come. Narcissists never miss a chance to be admired. The guest list was finalized. Grandparents, childhood friends, Olga's yoga partner, their son's favorite teacher. The only name no one recognized would be the most important one there. Maxim stared at the flash drive on his desk, labeled in fine ink. True, he placed it in a small black box, the kind jewelers use. It would sit unopened next to the dessert tray, a simple invitation. Let's see what healing really looks like. Saturday arrived with unnatural clarity, the kind of weather you'd expect in a film right before everything goes to hell. Blue skies, no wind, a soft warmth in the air, a perfect day for pretending. Maxim was up before sunrise. He marinated the lamb, chopped vegetables, arranged skewers with precise symmetry, each cut, each motion surgical. Not even the sun dared to rush him. The backyard transformed into a magazine spread. Cushions fluffed, plates aligned, flowers fresh. The centerpiece was the grill. He'd cleaned it twice, polished the knobs until they gleamed. Fire was honest. Fire didn't lie. At 10:30 a.m., Olga stepped outside, her eyes scanning the setup with vague approval. She wore a white summer dress, lightweight and flowy, the same one she wore to a beach holiday 2 years ago. The one Maxim had said made her look like she belonged in a painting. She caught him looking. Too much? She asked, smoothing the fabric near her hips. He shook his head slowly. You look exactly how people want to remember you. She smiled at that, not knowing it was already a eulogy. By noon, the guests began to arrive, parents first. Olga's mother brought wine and a pained smile. Their daughter Sasha arrived with her new boyfriend, awkward and overdressed. Then the neighbors, then colleagues. Laughter bloomed like weeds, fast, aggressive, trying to hide the cracks. Maxim greeted everyone with warmth. No one noticed the way his eyes never lingered. He moved like a man in control, drink in hand, apron tied, meat sizzling. The host, the husband, the hero. The banner fluttered above the garden arch. To hope, health, and heroes. Someone made a toast early to beating the odds, and Olga laughed too loud, clinking glasses with shaking hands. Maxim didn't drink. He watched her touch her necklace out of habit, the one she stopped wearing to protect her skin during chemo, watched her dodge questions about treatment, watched her flinch when the topic of doctors came up, and then, just as planned, Arthur arrived. He walked in with that gym-born swagger, tight t-shirt, sunglasses, white teeth too bright. He held a bottle of Prosecco like he was being filmed. Maxim welcomed him like an old friend. Everyone, he said, raising his voice just enough, this is Arthur, personal trainer, healer, miracle worker, the man who's been helping Olga through it all. Time stalled. There was a pause, then polite claps. Someone muttered, "Doctor?" and another repeated it louder, "Wait, so you're her doctor?" Arthur hesitated, just enough. He glanced at Olga, who stared at her feet. He cleared his throat. I work in wellness, fitness, energy fit, downtown. Another pause, sharper this time. Maxim smiled calmly. Isn't it wild how healing comes in unexpected forms? Olga's face had lost its color. She moved toward Arthur, but he subtly shifted away, pretending to laugh at someone's joke. Maxim turned to the grill. He flipped a skewer too hard. The bread slipped and hit the flames, turning black in seconds. The smell of charred dough filled the air. He didn't move to save it. Instead, he gestured to the table. Almost time for dessert, he said lightly, and a little surprise. He stepped inside the house and returned with a small velvet box, placed it next to the plates of cake and cream. Then he fetched his laptop and positioned it on the outdoor table, connected to the nearest screen. Let's honor the journey, he said. Let's see who helped us through. Olga's voice was barely a whisper. Maxim, don't. But it was already done. The screen lit up, a slideshow began. The hotel entrance, room numbers, timestamp shots of Arthur embracing her, blurred faces kissing by elevators. Each photo clicked forward in silence. And then the video. Arthur laughing in a towel, Olga behind him in a hotel mirror, kissing his shoulder. Gas rippled across the table. One of the children began to cry. Arthur stepped back instinctively. I didn't know she was married. She said they were separated. Maxim didn't even look at him. He faced the guest. I know you believed her. I did too. So I don't blame you. Then, gently, to Olga, you used illness as a mask. But the worst sickness here wasn't physical. She said nothing. Couldn't. Her father stood up, staggered, sat back down. Olga's mother covered her mouth with both hands. Someone muttered, Jesus Christ, under their breath. Maxim took off his apron, folded it, placed it on the table. He turned to his kids. Let's go. No shouting, no chaos, just a silence more violent than anything else. He didn't say goodbye. Didn't need to. Behind him, the banner still hung, swaying slightly in the breeze. To hope, health, and heroes. But there were no heroes left at that table. Only the smoke. The door shut behind them with the softest click. Maxim didn't look back. He walked slowly, children flanking him. Sasha holding her younger brother's hand, both wide-eyed, not from confusion, but from confirmation. They had suspected things were wrong. Kids always do. But nothing prepared them for the truth, flickering across that backyard screen like a courtroom verdict. The car ride was silent, save for the hum of tires and the low rumble of breath trying to stay steady. Sasha finally spoke. Papa, how long did you know? Maxim didn't answer immediately. He kept his eyes on the road, the curve of the trees outside blurring like memories you don't want to remember clearly. Long enough, he said, but not as long as I should have. There was no anger in his voice, just weariness, like a man who had carried something far past its expiration. His son spoke next, barely a whisper. She lied about being sick. Maxim's grip tightened slightly on the steering wheel. Yes. Is she going to jail or something? No, Maxim said after a pause. Lying doesn't always lead to jail. Sometimes it just leads to emptiness. He didn't explain further. Children understand silence better than adults. Back at the apartment, a small rental he had quietly prepared weeks ago, they settled in without ceremony. No unpacking, no tours, no forced cheerfulness. Just stillness. Maxim poured himself a glass of water and stood at the window, watching the street below. He wasn't crying. He hadn't shed a tear all day. It surprised him a little how numb clarity felt, like the moment after surgery when the pain is gone and you're just floating. Sasha emerged from the spare room, barefoot and thoughtful. Are we staying here now? For a while, he said. Did she know you were going to show those pictures? He turned to face her, finally seeing the adult in her teenage face. No, I didn't tell anyone, not even you. She nodded. I think you had to do it, even if it hurt. He nodded back. No lectures, no sugarcoating. They understood each other now on a new level. Not father and daughter, but survivors of the same implosion. Meanwhile, across town, Olga sat in the remains of the party. Guests had left in waves, some in stunned silence, others in barely restrained judgment. Her mother hadn't said a word since the video ended. Her father refused to look at her. Even Arthur, in a pathetic attempt at dignity, had slipped out through the side gate, avoiding eye contact, leaving his now infamous work hard, play harder t-shirt on the back of a chair. Olga remained at the head of the table, alone, staring at the untouched cake in the velvet box. She didn't open it. She already knew what was inside. The humiliating weight of her choices clung to the air like smoke from the extinguished grill. She felt hollow, not for losing Maxim, she had forfeited that long ago, but for finally realizing what he'd been holding together all this time. He hadn't yelled. He hadn't thrown plates or screamed curses. He had exposed the truth with dignity, calmly, thoroughly, and let the silence do what shouting never could. Back in his apartment, Maxim sat on the floor with his son, piecing together an old Lego set they'd brought from the house. Not a word was spoken about the night, just the soft clicks of rebuilding something that once mattered. Later, alone in the kitchen, Maxim turned on his phone. Dozens of messages blinked. Missed calls from Olga, 2 from her sister, 1 from Arthur of all people, reading only, "Bro, can we talk?" Maxim deleted that one without opening it. Then, finally, a message from his best friend, Andrew. "You were ice out there. Everyone's talking. I'm proud of you." He stared at the message for a long moment, then typed, "Thanks." It wasn't revenge, it was closure. He hit send, paused, then typed another. "It's time to start over. Just live." Quietly, the phone buzzed again. Another incoming call from Olga. This time he let it ring. She'd had 3 months of pretending. Now it was his turn for silence. The apartment smelled of thyme and charcoal. Smoke curled from the balcony grill where Maxim stood alone, turning skewers of chicken and sweet pepper. No audience, no stage. Just fire, breath, and the silence he'd earned. The kids were inside, arguing over board games and whose turn it was to pick a movie. The chaos was real, loud, alive, beautifully normal. It had been 3 weeks since the barbecue, 3 weeks since he let the truth speak for itself and walked away without looking back. There had been no legal drama, no slander, no furious text from Olga after the sixth unanswered call. She got the message. Eventually, she stopped reaching out. What else was there to say? She had built a lie so large it became her life, and then watched it crumble in front of everyone she loved. Maxim didn't need revenge. She would live every day beneath the weight of her own performance. He didn't check her social media anymore, didn't ask mutual friends for updates. Some had tried to gossip, to rehash the barbecue moment like it was entertainment. Maxim cut those conversations short. That part of his life was over. He didn't want to relive the wreckage. He wanted peace. His daughter leaned out from the sliding door. "Papa, want help?" He smiled. "I'm good." She nodded, eyes soft. "You're smiling more now." He chuckled, flipping the skewers. "Maybe that's because I'm not pretending anymore." A notification buzzed on his phone. "A message from Andrea again. Got a client who asked about you. I told him you're rebuilding." He said, "Tell him I'd trust a man like that." Maxim stared at it for a second, then locked the screen and slid the phone face down on the table. Rebuilding, a fitting word. Not just a home, not just trust, but identity. He'd spent years being the husband who always understood, the man who sacrificed without asking questions. His quiet patience had been mistaken for weakness, but now people saw him for what he really was: composed, decisive, sharp. He hadn't exploded, he had exposed, and then walked away. The scent of the grilled food was rich now, the kind that makes your chest ache with hunger and memory. He plated the skewers, added grilled bread, this time not burned, and carried everything inside. Sasha had set the table. His son poured sparkling water like it was champagne. "We feast," Maxim declared playfully, sitting down. They laughed. Later, after dinner, he stepped out onto the balcony. The city shimmered under a quiet dusk. In the distance, fireworks cracked from some neighborhood celebration, red, then gold, then blue. He took a long breath, not because anything had changed, but because he had. His phone buzzed one last time, this one from Andrea again. "You are cold as stone, man. I'd have lost it. Seriously, I don't know how you stayed so calm." Maxim thought for a long time, then typed, "Because the lie wasn't mine to carry." He hit send, paused, then added one more message. "It's time to live again." He set the phone down, went inside, and closed the balcony door behind him.